Leo. Just 3 letters, but they sparked a storm I never saw coming. It wasn't graffiti. It wasn't political. It wasn't even large. It was simply a name. Leo, my best friend. My shadow, the one who stayed when everyone else left. When my marriage ended, Leo stayed. When my father passed away, Leo curled up next to me like he could feel my pain. When life felt unbearable, Leo didn't ask why. He just stayed. And then he left too. Quietly, peacefully, I buried him beneath his favorite tree. But burying him didn't bury the grief. So I did what my heart told me to do. I painted his name on the wall of my house. Leo. In soft blue letters, simple, honest, real. 3 letters, a tiny paw print beneath. That wall didn't just belong to my house anymore. It belonged to his memory. To me, but someone didn't like that. Exactly 1 week later, I found a letter taped to my door. White paper, cold words. The writing on your exterior wall violates HOA, Visual Code 14C. Remove it within 72 hours or face a daily fine of $500. I laughed. I actually laughed because this had to be a mistake. Maybe a system error. So I picked up the formality. So I picked up the phone. A woman answered. Rigid tone. Pride laced in her voice. Janice speaking. HOA board president? I calmly said, "Hi, I received this notice." The name on my wall. Leo. He was my dog. He passed away recently. We're aware, she interrupted. Unfortunately, personal tributes are not permitted on exterior visible structures. You'll need to remove it. I was stunned. It's just 3 letters, I said. Other homes in the neighborhood have garden gnomes, pink flamingos, giant wind chimes. Aren't those violations too? It's not about the content, she snapped. It's about maintaining visual uniformity. Is more important than empathy? I asked. We've issued notices to others as well. A lie. I could hear it in her voice. Has anyone even complained? I asked. This isn't about them, she replied coldly. This is about you. Remove it or face the consequences. And then she hung up. Just like that, Leo's name, his memory, was now a violation. But what they didn't know was, I don't erase loyalty. I don't let anyone silence love or rewrite grief. This wasn't over. It had just begun. The next morning, I stood outside my house with a cup of coffee in hand, staring at those 3 letters. Leo still there, still bold, still mine. Then I saw it, a white envelope tucked under my doormat. This time, no tape. Just silence. I opened it. You are hereby fined $500 for known compliance with HOA. Directive 14C. Daily penalties will continue until correction is made. I crumpled the letter in my hand. This was no longer about rules. This was about control. That same day, I walked through the neighborhood. I made mental notes. One house had pink flamingos dancing in the yard. Another had a massive wooden sign that read, "Welcome to our crazy home." Across the street, someone had painted a butterfly mural on their garage door. None of these were being targeted. Only me. I decided to document everything. Photos, dates, addresses. I built a folder. HOA, hypocrisy. Then I called Janice again. Janice. I said calmly, I've compiled over 20 examples of clear HOA violations across our neighborhood. Lawn art, custom-painted walls, themed mailboxes. She cut me off. If you're suggesting selective enforcement, you're welcome to attend our next board meeting. I smiled. That was exactly what I planned to do. I showed up at the HOA meeting the next Thursday. They weren't expecting me. The room was quiet, filled with folding chairs, clipboards, and half-drunk cups of cold coffee. Janice sat at the head of the table, like a queen guarding a plastic crown. When it was my turn to speak, I stood and said, I'm not here to argue. I'm here to ask. Why is my tribute to Leo a violation when 20 other homes have unapproved decorations and not a single one has received a fine? The room shifted. Whispers, raised eyebrows, shuffling papers. Janice tried to keep control. The HOA is responsible for maintaining uniformity and property value. I raised my phone. slideshow on screen one by one. I showed pictures of gnomes, murals, mailbox art, and more. This isn't about uniformity. It's about who you choose to punish. Silence. Then one board member, a man I hadn't even noticed before, cleared his throat. "I've lived here 10 years. He said, "I've never seen these decorations get any notice. Maybe we should take a second look." Janice's face stiffened. She ended the meeting 5 minutes later, but the message had been delivered. The next morning, another envelope arrived. I opened it with shaking hands. "Effective immediately. All further fines against your property have been suspended pending review. The board will revisit Visual Code 14C in next month's policy session." They blinked, they flinched, and I wasn't done. The weekend came, and something strange started happening. First it was Martha, the kind old lady from 3 doors down. She knocked on my door, holding a tin of cookies. "I heard about the wall," she said quietly. "Leo, he was a good boy." I smiled. I hadn't known she remembered his name. Then she said something that caught me off guard. "Janice fined me too last year for my ceramic angels. I paid it, but it never sat right." She paused. "Thank you for standing up." Later. That day, I found a folded note tucked into my mailbox. "You're not the only one. HOA has been picking favorites for years. Some of us are ready to speak up." Anonymous. The room shifted. Whispers. Raised eyebrows. Shuffling papers, Janice tried to keep control. "The HOA is responsible for maintaining uniformity and property value." I raised my phone. Slideshow on screen. One by one I showed pictures of gnomes, murals, mailbox art, and more. This isn't about uniformity. It's about who you choose to punish. Silence, then. One board member, a man I hadn't even noticed before, cleared his throat. "I've lived here 10 years, he said. "I've never seen these decorations get any notice. Maybe we should take a second look." Janice's face stiffened. She ended the meeting 5 minutes later, but the message had been delivered. The next morning, another envelope arrived. I opened it with shaking hands. "Effective immediately. All further fines against your property have been suspended pending review. The board will revisit Visual Code 14C in next month's policy session." They blinked, they flinched, and I wasn't done. The weekend came, and something strange started happening. First, it was Martha, the kind old lady from 3 doors down. She knocked on my door, holding a tin of cookies. "I heard about the wall," she said quietly. "Leo, he was a good boy." I smiled. I hadn't known she remembered his name. Then she said something that caught me off guard. "Janice fined me too last year. For my ceramic angels, I paid it, but it never sat right." She paused. "Thank you for standing up." Later that day, I found a folded note tucked into my mailbox. "You're not the only one. Hoff's been picking favorites for years. Some of us are ready to speak up." Anonymous. By Monday, my inbox had photos, messages, and even signed letters. From neighbors all describing how the HOA had ignored violations in some homes and harassed others for petty things. A woman was fined for hanging wind chimes. A couple was warned about their Halloween decorations. A disabled veteran was told to repaint his wheelchair ramp because the color didn't match the aesthetic. But none of these people were fined until they had personal disagreements with Janice or her inner circle. I was beginning to see it clearly. This wasn't about HOA rules. This was about power, ego, and silence. But I wasn't staying silent anymore then. I found the document that changed everything. I requested the HOA's official violation logs under our state's public access laws. Reluctantly. The board had to comply. Dozens of printed pages arrived, and I combed through every one. That's when I noticed it. In the past 3 years, 87 written violations had been issued. 64 of those were directed at only 7 homes, including mine. The other 120-plus homes? Barely touched? Every single fine came from either Janice or someone she personally appointed. Even worse. Some homes were given verbal warnings, no fines, no paperwork, all because the owner was on good terms with the board. I had proof of bias. Proof of targeting. Proof of misuse of power. The next HOA meeting was standing room only. Neighbors filled the room, some with folded arms, some with folders, some with stories. I brought a projector. Didn't yell, I didn't accuse. I just showed them the numbers. If the HOA is meant to serve us all equally, why does it only punish a few? Janice tried to spin it. She blamed oversight. She claimed coincidence. But the room wasn't buying it. One woman raised her hand. I was told my son's art on our mailbox had to be painted over. Meanwhile, my neighbor's mailbox is shaped like a flamingo. No one said a word to them. Another neighbor added, "We were told to take down our pride flag, but that house down the street flies a football team banner year-round." Murmurs of agreement. Frustration turned into unity, and that's when someone finally said it. "We want a vote? A vote to remove Janice as board president. A vote to rewrite policies fairly. A vote to take back our neighborhood." I stood there, silent, as it unfolded. I didn't need to say anything else. Leo's name had started a fire. But it wasn't just about him anymore. It was about all of us. The vote to remove Janice was scheduled for the end of the month. Until then, the neighborhood stood on edge. Lawn signs began popping up overnight. Justice for Leo, fair rules for all our HOA. Not our HOA, I didn't make any of them, but they meant everything to me. Leo was gone. And yet somehow, he was uniting people more than some of the living ever could. Then, retaliation began. That Monday morning, I woke up to find a new violation notice on my door. "Your trash cans were left visible past pickup hours, $100. Fine, a first offense. Normally, a warning, but I got a fine. Tuesday, I got another one. "Excessive weeds in your flower bed, $150. I didn't even have a flower bed, I had mulch. Clean mulch. It wasn't about violations anymore. It was a message, a warning shot. Back off, or we'll make your life hell. But it wasn't working. Not this time, because every fine they gave me, every letter, every threat I posted online, neighbors started doing the same. One by one, they exposed their own stories. Single mom fined $200 for a tricycle left on the lawn. A military veteran cited for an overly patriotic display on July 4th. An elderly woman threatened with eviction for repainting her fence without approval. People were no longer afraid. They were furious. Then came the twist no one expected. One evening, a man named Tom Alvarez knocked on my door. I didn't recognize him, but he recognized Leo. "I used to live here," he said, pointing to the backyard. "About 12 years ago, that tree, that's where Leo used to wait for my son to come home." My throat tightened. "Wait, you knew Leo?" Tom nodded slowly. "My son Dylan, he had anxiety. Leo was a therapy dog we adopted from a shelter. But when Dylan was hospitalized long-term, we had to rehome him." He pulled out a faded photo. Leo, as a puppy, sitting in a boy's lap. Same ears. Same bright eyes. "When we heard where Leo ended up, that he had a good life with you, it gave my son peace." There was a pause. "He passed away last year. But before he did, he asked if Leo was still alive. Never forgot him." Stood frozen. The dog I thought I rescued was already someone's hero before he became mine. That night, I looked at the wall again. Leo, 3 letters, now carrying 2 stories, 2 hearts, 2 families I knew. No matter what happened next, I could never take it down. The day of the vote finally came. Turnout was higher than any HOA meeting in history. Neighbors stood in line, some crying, some cheering. When the votes were